Hello, and welcome to this video. In this video, we will be talking about the variable approach for DS questions. The variable approach was invented by Max Lee in year 2002. I am narrating on behalf of Max Lee. Background of the variable approach. I invented the variable approach after solving DS questions found in the GMAT official guide. Afterward, I had more questions than answers about the ways the official guide explained math problems because I wondered if it was practical to follow the explanations and achieve scores above 51 within the time limit. I realized that the explanations in the official guide were not time efficient, so I devised the variable approach to solve questions both accurately and quickly. The second reason for inventing the variable approach was that the conventional approach used induction to solve DS questions. This is inefficient because it follows these steps. It first looks at condition 1 and determines whether it's sufficient, and then moves on to condition 2 and determines whether it's sufficient. Finally, it moves on to both conditions together and determines whether they are sufficient. Following these steps is just too time-consuming. The variable approach is based on deduction. What I mean by this is that it can help you arrive at answers by understanding the logic within the question before actually solving it. The third reason was that there were only a few students around me scoring above 45 on the GMAT math, although they all studied very hard. I found this unusual and realized it was due to the inefficiency of the conventional approach. So, I was determined to find the best way to achieve the perfect score on the GMAT. I went through many difficulties to create this approach. On the day I confirmed that this approach actually works, I was happy and couldn't sleep that night. Advantages and efficiencies of the variable approach. 1. Saves problem-solving time. The variable approach is time-efficient because it determines the most likely answer based on what is given in the original condition, instead of just following the steps of plugging in conditions. Just by looking at the original condition, C or E would often most likely be the answer. Knowing the most likely answer, we can then apply conditions 1 or 2 to confirm whether either of them is the answer. This foreknowledge allows students to save a lot of time. 2. Solves problems by the variable approach algorithm. Since DS questions are logic-based, they require a problem-solving method or algorithm. This algorithm is more systematized and effective compared to the conventional approach used by the official guide and other GMAT prep books. 3. Effectiveness in finding correct answers. The number of variables and equations given in the original condition in DS questions determines the most likely answer. This effectively increases the likelihood of finding the correct answer. 4. Having confidence while solving DS questions. DS questions are unusual and can be very frustrating. By applying the variable approach, students can tackle DS problems with confidence. 5. Efficiency in time management. With a conventional approach, students usually run out of time, especially towards the end of the exam. So, they have to resort to guessing for some problems. However, with a variable approach, students can manage time more effectively and solve all 31 problems. 6. Builds confidence for the verbal section. If students manage to improve their scores on math, they have more time to study for the verbal section. With more time to study for the verbal section, students would have higher overall confidence with the exam and improve overall scores. There are so many advantages in addition to the ones that I listed above. By using the variable approach, you can relax and even stretch your neck during the exam. Why did I call my system the variable approach? Unlike the conventional approach used by the GMAT official guide, my approach tackles DS questions by counting the number of equations against the number of variables in a question. Since my approach is based on both logic and the concept of counting the number of variables, I called it the variable approach. The variable approach finds the most likely answer by counting the number of equations against the number of variables in a question. This proved to be one of the fastest and most effective ways to tackle DS questions. The variable approach has been very well received by many GMAT test takers in South Korea. With the know-how and insights I have gained for almost 2 decades, I am entering the global market with this effective system. The effectiveness of the variable approach. 1. The variable approach is logical in its approach and based on the statistical data that I have accumulated over the years. This approach has been helping many students all over the world, especially the students with no engineering background, achieve the highest possible scores on the GMAT math section. 2. I refined and polished the variable approach for decades by painstakingly going through and analyzing nearly 100,000 problems. So I am confident that saying that it is the most effective way to solve DS questions and will be the best tool for students to achieve the highest possible scores. I have put a great deal of time and effort into this approach, ensuring it is as efficient and effective as possible. 3. At first, students might find the variable approach very unusual and awkward. However, once they are used to the concept, they solve DS questions very effectively. Students can also apply the variable approach to the problems in the official guide to efficiently prepare for the GMAT. 4. Students should go over all the parts and videos on the variable approach. Also, the core theory videos are critically important to watch, and the other 15 parts are recommended to watch. If you have time, it is a good idea to watch all the videos twice to fully grasp the concepts. 5. The variable approach applies to DS questions developed by other test prep companies, such as Kaplan and Manhattan Prep. The variable approach is not merely a solving method, it is the standard to solve any DS questions. I can confidently say that the variable approach can be the gold standard to solve the GMAT math questions as proven for decades. It could be difficult for you at first, but once you get the hang of it, you can solve the DS questions very easily. You should study the approach step by step